I'm Richard.
And I'm Will.
And together we're
the Irreverent Nerds. Bum, bum, bum.
Hey nerds, Richard here, asking you to consider supporting this podcast. If you go to our website, anchor.fm/irreverent nerd, right there on the top of the page is a support button. Click on that, and then you can select the level at which you would like to support us. You can do 99 cents a month, $4.99 a month, or even $9.99 a month. And as I've said before, if you agree to do $9.99 a month, Will come to your house and give you a hug and a kiss. No, not really. Just kidding. But you will definitely receive our gratitude. So, take a minute today to go on there and let us know that you love us. Because, we're desperate for that. So, just let us know. Thanks, nerds. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. Nerds. So, we're here. Will and I are on our way to the theater to see Avatar: The Way of Water. Will, are you excited at all?
I am all sorts of ranging emotions. Mostly because of my drug withdrawal.
Yeah, so Will and I we are very much millennials. We both take antidepressants, and his doctor's been giving him a hard time. So he's like, his prescription lapsed a bit, so he's going through drug withdrawal right now. Thankfully, he doesn't have the shakes. He's driving okay.
I had paresthesia or something the other night.
I don't even know what that is. What is that?
My whole body was tingling.
Oh, fun. I had that a week ago too, although it was because I had a virus and I had the chills.
Ouch.
I don't know if you call it the tingles though. Yeah, man, when I get sick, I get sick. Like, my body is like, I'm gonna beat you up. Like, usually though, I kick a virus within 48 hours, but those 48 hours are very fun. And I mean that sarcastically.
Yes, Avatar. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so apologies for the road noise. A little noisy. So hopefully this will turn out okay. But hey, that's kind of par for the course. Like, when we do a lot of these movies, we're like, you're here with us, man. Like, you're out in the parking lot with us after the movie, or now you're in the car with us on the way to the movie. That's the way we do things here at the Irreverent Nerds.
That's right.
You get to come along with us.
Now, fancy podcasts will just add in some background ambiance, but not us. We give you the real deal.
That's right, man. We give you the real thing. Real sounds. Alright, so Avatar. So I am definitely excited. I've been waiting 13 years for this. And, after the first one, I didn't necessarily think they were going to make a sequel. And I don't even know if Cameron was planning on it originally, but like, when you make $2.8 billion on a film, I guarantee you that the studio is going to be like, hey, make another one. But knowing Cameron, he likes to take like a decade on each of his films, at least nowadays. It was like 12 years between Titanic and Avatar.
Ambiance.
And yeah, that's our directions. Yeah, like an idiot, I accidentally bought tickets in a different city. I meant to buy them in our city, and I bought them in a different city, so we're having a little road trip.
I personally wondered if you did that on purpose or not.
I did not, but I mean, this is kind of fun, right? A little mini road trip. We get to hang out a little longer before and after. I don't mind that. But we're getting ready to see this in GPX 3D. So it's Real D 3D and on a GPX screen. So supposedly the sound system's really good, and the screen is extra wide, like it goes from wall to wall. Never been to this particular theater before, so I'm excited about a new theater experience. So yeah, we're not doing IMAX 3D, we're doing GPX 3D. So we'll let you know afterwards how it compares to IMAX 3D. It should be great. And I was thinking about it earlier today. Like, I actually saw the first Avatar. I saw it in Real D 3D first before I saw it in IMAX 3D. So this will kind of be reminiscent of how I saw the first one, which actually, it looked great in Real D 3D. Like, you don't get quite the full screen experience, but Real D 3D actually works really well, especially if it's a movie that's designed for 3D like Avatar is. So I'm expecting it to be pretty cool.
Chilly.
Yeah.
Chilly.
So what are your anticipatory thoughts for this film? Well, what do you expect out of Avatar?
The blue people are back. What is the way of water? Water, it has a way. I've been anticipating this film for maybe 3 months.
Yeah, see, Will was not as enamored with the first one as I was.
I like the bird. The bird dragon. Why are we going so slow?
I don't know. We're stuck behind somebody who's slow, I guess. Speed up!
But jokes aside, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. No, it wasn't as impactful in my life as it was on Richard, but I remember the day very well. I remember hiding a drink in my hoodie. No, I did.
So
I
if you were
and I saw it again, and when it was traffic.
If you were in Winston-Salem and you saw the film and there was this creepy guy in a hoodie over in the corner.
We didn't go to Winston.
Okay, you didn't go to Winston.
That was a road trip day too.
Oh yeah, you went to Greensboro.
Yeah. No, we saw Avatar in Concord.
Okay. Oh yeah, with the old IMAX. I did too. Later,
we saw it at the same day.
Did we?
My first time was your later.
Oh, so that's right. I think I remember that. Like, cause we like accidentally. Wait, did you come with me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, never mind.
And there was a third person there, and we had a good time.
Tells you how well I remember. So yeah, so we saw it in IMAX 3D together. Cool.
Yeah.
I had forgotten that. Yeah,
I shouldn't have been so harsh on the film the first time. It was just the in thing to make fun of it because they were blue like Smurfs at the time.
Big old Smurfs. Yeah, I think what I disliked about it the first time remained true on the most recent rewatch. Like, and we talked about this in our previous podcast, but
yeah.
I was a little disappointed, honestly, when I heard that Colonel Miles is going to be the villain for the next 3 movies.
What?
I'm like, Cameron, come on, man, use some imagination. I'm sure there'll be some other people involved, but like supposedly he's going to be the villain, at least for this one, and I heard probably the next 2 after this.
Died.
I thought so too. Dude got shot with poison-tipped arrows.
And he's just not that interesting. I
Yeah,
mean,
so-
it makes sense that he would come back, but at the same time,
He's fun. I have to admit, I certainly enjoyed him better than Giovanni Ribisi's character, like the corporate nerd, you know, like, or the corporate lackey, I guess, to be a better term. He doesn't deserve the term nerd. He's not a nerd. He's a nerd would understand and love science. And what was it? I don't remember his.
he was a Wall Street
Yeah.
dude. I don't know.
Alright, so split off this way. So we are seeing this film in Greensboro, NC, instead of Winston-Salem. Like I said, my fault. No, I was just looking down through and I just saw GPX 3D and I was like, that sounds cool. Let's try that. And I didn't see the small print where it said in Greensboro. And I was like, oops.
So one of the things that I would have been a lot more impressed about had I known going into the theater 10 years ago for the first film is that, and I did not get to talk about this, there was a lot of trivia we didn't get to talk about on our last podcast when we reviewed the first Avatar film.
Yeah.
But
Do share, my friend.
there is no jungle. All the jungle is CGI apparently.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's entirely CGI.
And that is impressive.
Oh man, yeah.
And if I were to make a movie, I would be like, why? When I can just film in a jungle.
I guess I
But
just wanted to
still,
see if they
that's
could do it.
very-
See if they could do it, I guess.
That's very impressive. I heard that Cameron, right?
Yeah, James Cameron.
Okay, I heard that James Cameron had the actors and actresses hike not overnight, just during the day, through tropical jungles of Hawaii, rainforest, whatever they have out there, to get them in the right mindset of how they would act and feel when they're on stage, on the giant blue screen stage, since there was no real forest.
Well, that's the reason right there, because they were doing such complex motion capture.
Yeah.
That they had to have control over the environment.
Oh.
So it would have been a lot harder to do it outdoors. Like, I'm sure Peter Jackson could tell you, because although with Peter Jackson, like, they recorded outdoors for a lot of it with Andy Serkis in a big white wetsuit, looking like a dead fish. But yeah, they recorded that. But then he had to re-record the same scenes on a stage later with motion capture. Whereas James Cameron, I'm sure he learned from that, and obviously Weta Digital was heavily involved in Avatar, so they're probably like, hey, this was really hard. Let's do it all on a stage. Which I imagine they did something similar probably for Way of Water, and I've seen a couple clips of some of the behind the scenes.
2 miles is the right 2 lanes to take exit 217.
And yeah, so this one is, like we talked about before, it's like motion capture underwater. So the first film that's ever used motion capture underwater. Obviously, it's in a tank in a controlled environment, but that's still pretty darn cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing how awesome that looks in 3D. Knowing James Cameron, and given the fact that he's spent 13 years making this, it better be damn cool. But I think it will.
Has he spent the last 13 years making this?
No, not literally, but
okay.
It's been in development, for the better part of a decade, and then probably the actual production started 2 or 3 years ago.
He refused to do the sequel until the technology existed.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably true. Like, he wanted to develop the technology first, and make sure that it could be up to his standards. Which, again, I mean, the dude, from a technical standpoint, the dude has rocked it repeatedly since.
He's an artiste.
Yeah, he's just gotten better and better on that standpoint. Like, going all the way back to Terminator, his first film, on a very low budget, considering what he accomplished there. All right, we're taking the next exits.
Good old Gate City.
Yeah, so anyway, guys, we're going to follow our directions here to the theater, so we just wanted to give you a little intro, and then we'll give you an outro on the way out. So we'll see you
It's just typical.
So to speak, we'll see you in about 3.5 hours. Peace. All right, nerds, we're back.
Nerds.
So we are on our way home now from the theater, having just experienced Avatar: Way of Water.
Colorful nerds, boxes on rope.
I'm confused.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to do that. Yeah, we saw Candy aside, we saw Avatar.
We saw the big blue Smurfs in action once again.
Yeah. With maybe slightly better villain.
Yeah, actually. So this is already all over the internet, but in case you've tried to not spoil yourself at all, here's a spoiler about the villain. I mean, most people already knew it was Colonel Miles Quaritch.
I didn't know.
Well, that was announced a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
Which was, I think, probably, I never even thought about the fact that, well, that doesn't make sense because he's dead. But they obviously deal with that very quickly. And turns out, as a contingency plan, they used his DNA, which includes his memories, to create a clone of him, basically in a not V body. And pretty early on in the film, that clone arrives along with new contingencies of the Sky People.
The Sky People.
So this time around, Colonel Miles is in Na'vi body, along with some of his other soldiers that we saw in the first Avatar. So they have also been resurrected in a sense in the hybrid Navi bodies. So, first impression, I'll share mine. Like, I loved it. James Cameron has indeed topped himself. As he's, this is a very worthy sequel. I mean, it's every bit the experience and more that the first one was. So, and the underwater obviously is really what does that at the end of the day. They don't spend a lot of time in the forest. We begin there, like, pretty early on in the film. You get introduced to Jake Sully's family, and he's got several kids, including one adopted, who was more or less an immaculately conceived. At least that's the implication that in Sigourney Weaver's character, I want to call her Ripley right now, but that's not right. Dang it, Grace. So Grace's Navi body apparently was impregnated by Awa, and her child is then adopted by Jake and Neytiri, and is being raised by them. So we get, kind of montages where we see their kids growing up and see them teaching their kids and their life, and they live up in the Hallelujah Mountains now, up in the floating mountains.
Basically the Holy Family.
Yeah. And, but yeah, so my first impression is that I really loved it. Like I said, I think it builds on the first one and exceeds it, and obviously in technical expertise and beauty, but not so much that it's unrecognizable. They stick to the film language of the world, and well acted once again. I thought the plot was pretty solid. So, like, if we're giving it out of 5 nerd hats, I think I would give this 4.75 nerd hats. How about you, Will?
I'm not going to chop my nerd hats up. Those nerd hats cost a lot of money.
Just cut off part of the bill.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I was tempted to give it a 5.
Yeah, it's like I'm being slightly conservative, just because you have that you first come out of the theater thrill kind of thing. You always rate it a little higher or lower depending on how bad a film is.
I guess that's where I'm at right now. I mean, I've been a lot more hyped up, but yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I mean, the first film did this as well. Like, it really, by taking you to a fictional planet, a new planet, it really, in a really cool way, it gets you in touch, makes you want to get in touch with your own planet more. Because you're experiencing this new world as if you were a child, in a sense, growing up on a new planet. You're experiencing it with Jake, obviously, for the first time in the first film. And in this one, you have they recapture some of that, because Jake and his family have to flee to the outer islands, where the water people, the Matakai, take them in, as they're seeking refuge from the sky people.
I think this is my turn.
Oh, well, yeah. You know your way. So, yeah.
Yep, this is my turn.
Cool. No, thoroughly enjoyed it. Personally, love the messages in it as well. But really, in so many ways, by transporting you into that world, it just gives you an appreciation for nature, and makes you appreciate it. I love in particular what they did with the I'm gonna butcher this word. I'll have to look it up later. But basically the creatures that are analogous to whales. Should have written some of this down.
Tutakaya.
No, it's close.
I'm just parroting it.
But yeah, essentially the whale analogs. Because you have characters from each that are kind of analogous to stuff on Earth, and then you have the whales here, and you really get to know them. Like, you get a feel for their intelligence, and the Navi can actually communicate with them, which we humans are getting closer and closer to that. I actually watched a documentary not too long ago about some scientists who are working on developing an ability to communicate with whales.
Cool.
Learning their language and actually starting to, in very basic ways, communicate with whales.
Cool.
Which is really cool. Yeah, here it's evolved naturally. It's like an adaptation. You have the people that live out in the ocean. They have kind of like flippers on the sides of their feet and arms. They've lived around the ocean for so long that they adapted. So it's pretty cool. What do you think of the villains this time around?
Well, I think I like the villains more. I mean, sorry, I'm a little distracted with my driving. Anyway, yeah, the villains. Well, we got a whole lot less. I feel like we got less time with the humans this time around. But what little we did find out, is very big motivation for them to return. Interested to see how that pans out in future films. But the villains, I feel like, I could be wrong, but I feel like they had their own mission apart from what they were actually resurrected, air quotes, resurrected for. But very personal motivation for the actual villain. And where we leave off, not to give any spoilers, where we leave off leaves our said villain to have even more personal vendetta against our hero characters. I think it's a little bit more complex this time.
Yeah, because they humanize the main villain. Turns out, I don't know who he was getting it on with in the last film, but apparently he had a kid that got left behind.
Race. She was getting it on with everybody out in the woods.
No.
Kidding.
Apparently he had a kid with someone, and obviously this is, retrofitted. I don't think they intended for him to have a kid when they were making the first film, but it has a really interesting element to this movie. So, his kid was too young to be sent back to Earth with all the other humans at the end of the first film, so he gets left behind, and he gets taken care of by the scientists who remain behind, but then also kind of becomes he's a regular visitor to Jake Sully's family, Jake and Neytiri's family, and it's kind of sweet on their adopted daughter.
I thought I could tell that.
Yeah. Well, I think they like each other. I think that becomes pretty obvious. That'd be cool to see where that's going. It's is it you'll have an actual human with Na'vi hybrid babies? I guess. I don't know. There's 3 more movies? 2 more movies to go. So we'll see where they go with that. But
I think ultimately we have to head towards if they're going to keep the humanity's motivation for sending Captain, Colonel, General, whatever his name is, the Miles back.
Yeah, Colonel Miles.
Colonel Miles. If we're going to keep the actual motivation that Earth had to send him back, then I think we're going to have to deal with a lot more race relations in the future films.
I mean, that reason is made clear at the beginning. He's there to kill Jake Sully, basically, and take him out. So, his team, the idea. So this is kind of interesting. They're trying. The military were sent. I don't know if they ever left fully in the first film, but they established another beachhead, and they've been trying to attack and get into the Hallelujah Mountains. And every time they go in there, AWA basically detects. They describe it as an allergic reaction. So the AWA detects any humans, basically any aliens, more or less, are detected and then it's subsequently attacked. So their idea is that if they send in those soldier hybrids, that they'll be able to slip in under the radar, which they are able to successfully do. And then they capture Jake and Neytiri's kids, and then that starts off the conflict from there.
Those kids were constantly at the center of conflict throughout this film.
Yeah. Well, they spent quite a bit of time with the kids, which is cool. I mean, obviously we're going to see them growing up over the course of the next two movies, and they'll probably come. I mean, they were a pretty big part of this film as it was. Jake and Neytiri were still important, but they almost in some parts of the movie definitely took a back seat to the story of the kids.
Speaking of which, I kind of feel like they used some sort of CGI and voice manipulation to allow Sigourney Weaver to actually play Grace's daughter.
Yeah, that was obvious. She definitely did the voice.
And I think that one son was actually played by the man who plays the father.
Oh yeah?
I think so, because
it did sound a lot like him. That's possible. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that he did sound a lot like him. Definitely acted like him, which, you have a son, you would... But yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Could be James Cameron pushing again.
Yeah, I don't know.
The technology and stuff.
Yeah, like aging down, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sigourney Weaver definitely did the voice, like you could tell it. But yeah, like you said, whether they did enhancement or whether she's just that good. There are times where it would come through. It's like, oh yeah, that's definitely Sigourney Weaver. Which again, her daughter, you would expect her daughter to sound somewhat like her.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was obviously the actress. But yeah, just amazing experience. We saw it in the GPX 3D, which I thought looked great. In some ways, seeing it in that instead of IMAX 3D. I mean, eventually I'd like to see it in IMAX 3D before it leaves theaters, just to compare. I imagine they'll keep it in IMAX for a while, probably. I mean, the biggest test will be, like, is it making more money than anything else? And if it is, they'll probably keep it in there. Yeah, I have a feeling this is going to have a lot of return viewers, because, like, it's the kind of experience you would love to see every time you go to the theater, but, it's not possible. It costs too much money to make movies like that, but yeah, it's just...
Well, I know I'll be seeing it again, if not in theaters, on Disney Plus, whenever that becomes an option, because I had to get up a couple of times and go check my phone. So...
Yeah, you missed some bits and pieces there.
Yeah, I sure did.
No, it's worth watching twice, for sure. I know when the first one came out, I saw it, I think, 4 times that summer. Was it summer? No, it came out in December. But yeah, I saw it 4 times during its run. 'Cause it was in theaters for a while. I want to say like 5-6 months or something. And it was kind of one of those sleeper hits where it didn't have a big opening necessarily, like compared to other blockbuster films, but it just steadily was earning like 20-30 million every week. And it eventually got up to 2.8 billion. Contrast that with like Avengers Endgame, there's so much build up to that. Like it earned like a ton of money in the first month and then tapered off. But yeah, I suspect this Avatar will be similar, where it will sustain, because like I can't think of anything that's gonna outdo it anytime soon. I mean, that like Ant-Man is coming out. I'm trying to remember when. This will probably still be in theaters when Ant-Man comes out. So that might get up to #1 spot that week. But yeah.
Are you sure it's Ant-Man?
Yeah, it's like, what is it, the Quantumverse or whatever?
Yeah, well, I'm
Ant-Man
joking.
and the Wasp, technically.
I do enjoy Ant-Man, but I am joking. But I still don't see Ant-Man surpassing Avatar: Way of the Water.
Oh no, not total gross. I'm thinking just
Right.
its opening weekend, it'll probably be the #1 spot, just because this is the next Marvel movie and stuff. But I think that's like February or March.
it's an entirely... I don't know about other people, but I'm kind of getting tired on the MCU and the DCU and all that. Superheroes, I've had... It's been 10, 20 years now. I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's been... Superheroes have been ruling the box offices since...
I think really, if you go back
Iron
to
Man.
Spider-Man, actually, like
Yeah.
Spider-Man made what, $800 million or something like that. That was the first like mega hit for superhero
Yeah.
movies.
Well, I just mean that once, this is off topic from Avatar, but just once the MCU really got rolling, and then got rolling hard, we were having superhero movies multiple times a year.
Yeah.
And it went from your occasional Spider-Man, X-Men, oh great, popcorn, really enjoy that, to I'm drowning in capes and tights. But Avatar is really refreshing in that it's something new and different. I think that that it has that going for it too.
Yeah, and it honestly for me, like it made me want to do more to protect ocean life. I've already started doing some things like advocating and things, but yeah, like that's one of the main messages of the film. They the main baddies are get in league with whalers. It's interesting that they have whalers. At first I was like, that's a little weird. Why would they send people all the way out here? But then they explain it. There's this fluid inside the brain of these. Again, I can't remember the Na'vi name, but the whale analogs that stops human aging.
Huh? Really?
Yeah. So
That
that's
must have been when I got up.
just one little fluid. I think you were there for that, but like one little vial of it, he said was like $80 million or something like that for one little vial. She's like, that's what pays for everything now. It's no longer are they trying to get unobtainium, they're trying to get that.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, I'm back.
So in the first film, they kind of are speaking out against strip mining and just callous strip mining, and which does do a lot of damage, obviously, to ecosystems. And this one, it's speaking out against whaling and the damage that does. And I do think whales should be protected. Like they're highly intelligent mammals, and I think we should give them as many protections as we can. Like I myself have, not just because of whales, but because of other sea life, I've stopped eating seafood close to a year ago now. I think maybe I had it once or twice in the last year, and just so much damage is done to the ocean by the way that we do fishing, commercialized fishing.
Well, I'm glad I didn't suggest Long John Silver's for lunch then.
No, I wouldn't. I would be like, nope. Well, anyway, nerds, so that's our outro, our postscript, so to speak, and we may record a little bit more before we get this episode ready to run. But, yeah, we hope you enjoy it, and if you haven't seen it yet, go out and see it. If you have seen it, go see it again. We plan to. And yeah. James Cameron's Avatar, Way of Water.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Irreverent Nerds podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at irreverent_nerds, plural. We are on Facebook. Our fan page is simply called The Irreverent Nerds. We're on YouTube, The Irreverent Nerd. And if you go to anchor.fm/irreverent nerd, you can support us for 99 cents a month, $4.99 a month, or $9.99 a month. You can also send us a voice message, which we may include in a future episode. Fellow nerds, until next time, make it so. Engage. Avengers assemble. I'm Batman.